Welcome to Horror Madness with Deb and Dana. We have a special guest star, Final Girl 91, Rachel.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on here.
I'm very excited.
We are too. We've been looking forward to this for sure.
That's where I was going. I was like, this is going to be the most Saturday Night Live skit NPR thing ever. Hey guys, everyone. We're glad you're here. We're going to bake some cookies tonight, and it'll be... No, we're going to talk about Scream from 1996, the OG, the original.
Directed by Wes Craven, starring Neve Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Rose McGowan, Matthew Lillard, Jamie Kennedy, David Arquette, Courtney Cox. I can keep going on.
Arguably one of the best horror films ever made to some of us.
All right.
So,
I think, right, there's so many so's to that. Arguably, yes.
yes, absolutely.
Also, like in reality, just yes. So, I think the first time when this movie came out, like, I think I'm assuming by your Final Girl number, you're a bit younger than us. When this came out, I was like in my height of teenage angst and loving slasher films. And this came out, and I thought it was just like the most garbage ass thing ever. Without seeing it, I was just like, oh no. Scream, Wes Craven, one of my favorite directors, is doing a parody of all of his own films. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, when I watched this, I didn't see it in 96. I saw it in 97. I rented it from Blockbuster and thought it was kind of bad. But as an adult,
I don't think I watched it for a good 15 years after. When the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, I hate this garbage. But also, it came out in 96, so I was 15. And I hated it. And then, like, 10 years later, I watched it again, and I was like, oh, no. It's actually a pretty decent movie.
yeah, so
That's interesting because I always wondered if I didn't appreciate it enough as being a younger viewer and always like wished I would have been older, but maybe it ended up working out better for me because I've loved it from the beginning.
maybe it did. I'm a little bit younger than Dana. I rewatched all of them like a year and a half ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am in love with the Scream franchise that I did not like when I first saw, but I was like seventh grade when I first saw Scream.
And I was like ninth grade.
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that tracks.
Yeah, you're not like, yeah, no, you're just like, you're 3 years younger than me?
4.
Ish, depending on the
Hey,
time
you
of the
play
year.
that card. It only takes a little bit of time. You're younger.
So, this is a quite star studded cast. But they weren't stars yet, shockingly.
Yeah, so I think in the worst special features I've ever seen in my
Oh
life,
my gosh, they were so bad.
they were referred to as an up-and-coming ensemble cast. And they were, that's right. They're all crazy superstars or never did anything else ever again. Cast.
I
No,
mean,
they're not.
everyone went on. I mean, Neve Campbell.
Wasn't she in Wild Things before Scream?
Oh, you goddamn right.
Oh, was that before Scream though? She said this was her first lead. She was in The Craft.
Was Wild Things before?
No,
So, we
I
talked
think it
about
was
that,
99.
And I was like, yeah, like The Craft, she wasn't the leading role. She's a main character. She is one of the most important characters in the movie. But she's not a leading role. But you just brought up a very good point.
Wild Things was 1998.
So that was 2 years
2
later.
years later.
Immediately after, essentially,
Yeah.
with filming and whatnot.
Yeah, my
Yes.
timeline's gonna be messed up because I watched all those movies after the release date, so I'm not gonna know the history very well.
Oh, same. I mean, Scream came out the same year as The Craft, and I watched The Craft
Watch The
2
Craft.
years before I watched Scream.
Yeah, I watched The Craft as soon as it came out.
I did
and
too.
Wild Things. Christ almighty, I'm 40. I just turned 26 for the 18th time.
Wild Things apparently was 98, but they're all around the same time. The Craft, Scream, Wild Thing. So no, this movie, I mean, the only people I think that were anybody were Courtney Cox, and I don't think David Arquette, like his family was somebody.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a
No,
billion super famous
well-
Arquettes, but
I feel like David Arquette had quite a few films, didn't he?
Oh, goodness.
Ready to Rumble. I don't know what year
Oh.
that came out. Eight-Legged Freaks. He kind of did spoofy movies.
Yeah,
I think
he
those
did.
were all after, though, weren't they?
Scream was David Arquette's first movie.
Oh, what?
Shit, really?
I feel like I should have known that. That's a big
His-
fact.
I feel like I should
His
have.
major break, both personally and professionally, didn't come until 1996 when he was cast in the slasher flick Scream.
So is that where he met Courtney Cox then?
Yes.
That movie brought them together. Oh.
Yes, it did.
He was married to Courtney Cox?
Yes.
Yeah.
No shit.
Up until the fourth movie, they divorced, but they still played a couple.
This movie was marketed crazy because it was marketed as a Drew Barrymore movie.
No, it was marketed perfectly.
Oh, it was
That
marketed.
was the purpose.
It was
That was
so.
what they were going for.
I know. I've taken a lot of marketing classes, and it is the perfect marketing. You get one of the biggest actresses in Hollywood in 1996,
Goddamn right.
and it's Drew Barrymore. And you put her on your posters, and you kill her in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
I'm surprised more movies and shows don't go with the Scream method. I thought that they were going to try again in the fifth one. I thought that Jenna Ortega was going to die in that first scene. I was surprised when she didn't.
Well, she's
So-
famous.
It was also in Psycho. Janet Leigh died in the first few minutes of the movie.
Right.
The movie opens and there is Drew Barrymore as Casey popping her popcorn, and she gets her first ghost face call.
The calls.
And I don't know if I would talk so much to somebody I don't know. I don't even answer the phone for people I do know.
But this is the
Sure.
90s. People are more
Right.
friendly,
Right.
supposedly.
Should have, if somebody randomly called my phone in the 90s, I would have been like, hey, girl or guy, what's up?
Would you have
what do
been
you wanna
like,
talk about?
I
Like,
don't have a
no life.
boyfriend. Are you going to ask me out? But I really do have a boyfriend.
Yeah, no.
She
Yeah.
is a high school student. She probably really wants the attention. You know?
I know. I get that. I do
so
get
cheered
that.
up. You wanted that attention.
You
I
ever have a
did.
guy slide into your DMs and you just like chat for a minute, even though you have no idea if this person's really who they say they are?
But when
I
this
didn't
movie
have
came
D-
out,
I
there
didn't-
weren't DMs.
I was going to say, I didn't have DMs in high school.
We had.
No, like if
I-
you bring it to today's day and age, just imagine her. Like she didn't have texting and messaging, so she was treating the phone as her source.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd probably get down with that. So they're on the phone, and he has the best freaking one-liners next to Freddy Krueger.
Which were also made by Wes Craven.
Yes. She's like, what do you want? And he's like, I want to see what your insides look like. And that
Unforgettable.
It might be my favorite line in the movie.
So that's a thing I have way further down in my notes. But
What?
the facts that, like, this movie quotes more movies than any movie ever. But
It's
at the
insane.
same time, it's still the most quotable movie ever.
Very
Like,
true.
like every word that's said that isn't a quote from a movie before it is quotable. Thank
Yeah.
you, Matthew Lillard.
So, did you know that in the opening scene with Drew Barrymore, it is Wes Craven in the costume?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wait, what?
So,
That's news to me.
The
yes,
first.
in the opening scene with Drew Barrymore, it is Wes Craven on the phone and in the costume. And when she hits him in the head, it's Wes Craven.
Yeah. So the pain of falling out of the window after getting hit in the head with a actual 90s level wireless, not wireless, what is
Oh,
it?
the cordless phone.
Yeah, Wes Craven got his noggin knocked by Drew Barrymore in that scene.
Yes, it was Wes Craven in the costume and on the phone, which makes the Nightmare on Elm Street line great.
Oh, everything makes every Nightmare
Oh.
on Elm Street line great.
Where she's like, Nightmare on Elm Street, but only the first one was good. All the others suck. Wes Craven didn't want that line in the movie because he thought it would be like egotistical.
I thought that's what made it great.
It
So-
was.
It
but-
was.
So Wes Craven didn't write the movie; he directed the movie, and the guy that wrote the movie, who
Kevin Williamson.
Kevin
Oh, yes.
Williamson,
The guy that
Kevin
looks like
Williamson.
Kane Hodder. So, Casey's running around her house, and there's so many windows.
Hey, we're not there yet.
Yes.
This movie made me paranoid about windows, honestly.
That's exactly why I don't want a house with a lot of windows. It's probably because of
We're
Scream.
talking about Drew.
Yes.
Her whole house is made of glass.
I know. So, they're on the phone, and they're doing horror trivia. I would have rocked that horror trivia.
Well, I think I would have too, but if I was under duress like Drew Barrymore was at that moment, I might have said the same thing.
You might have said that Jason was the killer in front.
Yeah,
Baby,
if I'm scared to death and
you're
people
gonna
are already knocking
say
on my doors and
Mrs.
stuff,
Voorhees.
well, I mean, like, I know the truth, but not everyone does. But also,
I mean,
it was a
in
trick
all
question.
fairness, it is. It's a trick question. Everybody associates Jason with Friday the 13th, even the
Yes.
first one. He does come out at the end of the movie, so he is in there.
Oh, that's another Ari Lehman.
Oh boy, Ari Lehman, shout
We-
out.
We met Ari Lehman, and he is a gem of a human.
What a great dude.
He is such a great dude.
Legitimately is a great dude.
And he can rock a guitar.
But the little kid that popped out of the thing with the Tom Savini prosthetics on his face when he was a tiny little child was Ari Lehman, First Jason. Listen to the First Jason band. They're great.
They are great.
Non-sponsored. Just love
Non-sponsored.
the band. First Jason.
I think I went back to what do you want? And he said to see what your insides look like. And that line is perfection.
Changes the whole tone. It is. Like, the movie changes right then. So
It does. It goes from like I don't even know how to explain what it goes from. But
It goes from an absolute parody of Wes Craven's own films to
To-
it being a new film that Wes Craven made.
yes, yes. So they first kill. What first kill? I didn't put first kill in here. First kill is Steve, Drew's boyfriend that she said she didn't have.
I think he was the most graphic.
He
Next
was.
To, yeah, like he's the most graphic kill that they allowed in it.
This movie also didn't allow a lot of graphic kills.
They tried to give it
I
an
know.
NC-17 for the gore, which it's like not even actually that gory. And I am now like, bitch, have you seen Terrifier?
I know, right? Like,
Right.
they've changed so much.
This is
So
just
much.
like MPAA was like rated R. You're good to go, bro.
So whenever they killed Casey right there, how they sped it up so fast. That was like one of the final cuts, I think, to get the rated R rating.
Oh yeah, with the heart stabbing. That was what they had a problem with, was them stabbing.
Yeah.
Also,
And then her hanging from the tree, they had to speed through that and not really show us what they wanted to show
it was
us.
like a quick clip of
Th-
her in the
Mhm.
I
tree.
don't agree that it looks anything like the Suspiria kill at all.
So, fun fact. I'm going to shoot this fun fact out here real
we're
quick.
shooting fun facts already.
I'm shooting a fun fact. During the filming of this, a prop technician forgot to disconnect the phone. And Drew Barrymore actually called 911 several times
Several.
and just screamed and hung up the phone until the police showed up.
If you'd
They're
like to know
lucky
his
that-
name, you won't find it because he got fired.
I'm sure. Could you imagine being the police showing up to that?
They're just like, no, we're just shooting a horror movie. They're like, okay, cool, keep rolling. They cut straight to Nev as Sydney in her room, and good old Skeet jumps through the window. And I am sorry, Skeet Ulrich ages like a fine wine.
He's got the bad boy vibes, so it really works for him.
He does
That's all
have
he
the
needs.
he does have the bad boy vibes, but he ages like a fine wine.
And looks like Johnny Depp.
He
They couldn't. I think even Skeet would be like, yeah, they wanted to get Johnny Depp and couldn't, so here I am. I look a lot like him.
I'm gonna get to the Johnny Depp of this in a minute.
Well, you kind of got there.
Well, no, because we
Through
have
the window.
he climbed through the window like Glenn in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Because I think Wes Craven must have had a thing for climbing through his girlfriend's windows, maybe.
I mean,
Or he just had a thing for Johnny Depp like everyone else alive.
so they do the whole like movie reference. Will you settle for a PG-13 movie? And that's a whole thing. And when I watch this, now after having seen Scary Movie, all I see is the Scary Movie scenes. And
Same.
I spent
That's
far.
like printed forever into our minds.
I watched this movie today far too long before I realized Carmen Electra wasn't in it.
Oh my god.
I kept being like, but when does the thing with Carmen Electra
that's Drew
happen?
Barrymore.
Well,
And this movie
yeah.
was actually going to be called Scary Movie, the
It
original
was.
title. Yeah. Then what would they have called Scary Movie?
Scream.
Scream.
So they go straight from this scene to like Sydney being at school and Gail Weathers being there.
Oh,
And she's reporting Casey and Steve's death.
so what I want to say about this scene, and I always want to point out the inconsistent wild things in the movie, always. So some murder happened.
Oh.
So the murders happened in the middle of nowhere, as said by the movie multiple times. And then they're like, we're going to set up police barricades in front of the school where this murder didn't happen anywhere remotely close to it. And we're setting up police barricades.
Because that's where the kids went to school.
Why did they need police barricades and like crime scene tape at the high school? Nothing happened at the high school. Why are
Yet.
there police barricades at this point?
Maybe because the journalists all flooded the school because they had nowhere to go, and then the police felt like they needed to come in and do their thing.
It
Yeah,
was
that's fair.
just Courtney Cox, though. And Linda Blair. Credited as nosy newscaster. I think.
Aggressive.
Aggressive.
Or
newscaster?
obnoxious.
Obnoxious.
It was obnoxious. She was credited as the obnoxious
And,
newscaster.
She was infinitely less obnoxious than Courtney Cox was. So, like, that's like the wildest crediting ever.
So they're at the school and they're sitting in front of that fountain. All the kids, all the main cast kids.
Oh, we're talking about the shoe scene? Final Girl 91. Do you know what I'm about to say?
Oh, what are you going to say?
No, I can't read your minds. I'm sorry.
Oh, but we're talking about the scene. So, when the scene starts, it's kind of like, it's a panning scene that pans into them. And
Yes.
two of them have a set of black boots, and everybody else has wildly colored shoes.
I did not notice
Right.
that.
Which is
But-
the actual fucking most dead giveaway in the whole movie, even though...
Except, who's looking at their shoes? We haven't even seen Ghostface shoes until the
Right.
bathroom scene. So why are
First
we paying
time-
attention to shoes?
First time you've seen it, you can't know that, but they're
Yeah.
both wearing Ghostface shoes in that scene.
Because he says during the scene with Casey, I'm shivering in my boots.
There's so
Oh.
many callbacks to this scene.
So the one thing about this movie is they pan across everything, even the jump scares, before they do them. Like, you know a jump scare is going to happen. You know how somebody's going to die because the camera will pan across it before it happens. This is heavy on foreshadowing.
I'm a big fuck jump scares guy. And I always take notes on when stupid jump scares happen. And I don't think there's a single actual jump scare in this movie.
So
I think Wes Craven went out of his way to not let a jump scare happen. And there's scenes where, like, you're just like, oh, jump scare's about to happen. And it fucking doesn't because Wes
So
Craven.
he gives them away before they happen. They still make me jump. Even like the first jump scare of Ghostface in the window with Drew, you knew it was going to
Yeah.
happen. I still jumped. In the bathroom stall, that dingy ass bathroom in that nice ass school was really weird. That bathroom was so dirty and that school was so nice with like the hardwood staircases and
And what's written next to that mirror in the bathroom?
Dana's fast.
Dana's fast. Goddamn right. I'm fast as fuck.
That school was actually the second school that they had to shoot at. The first one
Really?
kind of kicked them out.
I didn't.
When they found out they were doing a horror film, they like booted them.
Yeah, and there is a thank you, unthank you. in
yeah.
the credits. Yeah.
So we are at
Also, fuck that school in Northern
fuck that
California.
school.
There's so much amazing acting by Skeet and Matthew Lillard.
Their eyes in that moment at the fountain where they're
Skeet.
just.
What kind of name is Skeet?
It's not his real name, it's his nickname. So. Also, Skeet is an amazing actor. And Matthew Lillard is. Matthew Lillard, and I love him.
I love Matthew Lillard.
I
so
love
much.
Matthew Lillard.
I do too. There's no judgment.
Right, like I feel like
But
people
his-
that don't love Matthew Lillard just aren't cool people. Like you have to understand his ridiculousness and just be like, no, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Or you're like, I hate Matthew Lillard because he was fun and amazing in a horror movie.
Could you imagine if he wasn't over the top in this movie? It would have
No,
taken
it
away
wouldn't
so
work.
much. I know.
So over
We
the
needed
top.
that.
He's over the top in everything he does, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, like
Salt
yeah.
Lake City Punk, Scooby Doo.
We're not there yet, but that ending thing.
Oh,
The ending with Matthew Lillard, and oh my god, it's
I
in
know
my
he really
notes.
stole the ending, honestly.
He
Yeah,
did.
yeah, bro, I'm feeling woozy right now.
No, I think I'm gonna die.
He balanced out Skeet's like darkness, so it kind of hit it a little bit. Like in the video store, it's like that's when Skeet
Yeah.
starts really looking creepy. You start wondering what's up, but then you got like playful Matthew Lillard, and he kind of balances it all out.
I love that Wes Craven kind of pokes at himself.
Hold on.
I know, and they did it by making it still a serious movie and not just a full-on parody, which I love.
Which is amazing because this is satire, but it's serious satire. And they did satire without turning to comedy, which is
Wild and great.
and beautiful. So we are just at Sydney getting her first attack.
Police said, we'll check every cellular record in this county.
I said, today that would be so much harder because that is all the phones in the county.
How
Right?
nowadays? Good luck. Like, it's not even the city or the place that they're in. They're like, we'll check all of the cellular records in the county.
It's crazy. He saw that cell phone drop out of his pocket and was like, you are ghost face because you have a cell phone.
Only 3 people in this county own a cell phone. Ghostface, my dad, and Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
it was clever because, of course, as soon as that happens, we're all like Billy's Ghostface, and then they do a great cover up to throw us off. I mean, for at the time, it threw me off. You know, I wasn't old enough to judge that.
It did. There are so many red herrings in this movie.
On purpose.
There's so many. And they even tell you what the red herring is. So, the first red herring, I mean, I don't count.
There's so many red.
There's so many red herrings. Principal Hembry,
Oh,
Henry
the fun.
Winkler.
Hey,
Winkler.
I'm your principal, and I'm the fucking Fonz, and
For a second, you think he might be the killer because he threatens to gut those students with those giant ass scissors.
yeah, it's wild as fuck. It's a
I don't
cameo.
know. I never really bought him as the killer.
No one did because it's just
No,
a cameo.
it was like 3 seconds where you're like, oh, could he be the killer? Because he threatens them. And then he's playing with their ghost face mask. And then he gets killed.
You know what would have been the
Very
wildest,
quickly.
coolest
Very
thing
quickly.
humanly possible ever? There was a third killer, and it was the Fonz.
And he gets stabbed by Ghostface. And that's only kill number 3.
Really?
It's
That's
Principal
only-
Well,
Hembry.
Oh.
We
Yeah.
got Drew. We got
Ghostface is
Steve.
Still more people.
We got Principal Hembry. And then there's a beautiful Wes Craven cameo.
Oh my God! The
Uh-huh.
best cameo in any movie ever.
The janitor named Fred, who's in a Freddy Krueger freaking cosplay.
That inspired the whole Simpsons.
The whole house.
Yes.
The whole
Yeah, the whole
Simpsons
house
thing.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think no scene has ever been more profound than Wes Craven playing Freddy Krueger for 1 split second in Scream.
Also, so call back to the line in the police station after Sydney is attacked. Tatum says to Dewey, her brother, the janitor is your boss. And then
Yeah,
a
I never thought
scene
about that.
later, it's Wes Craven as a janitor
Who is his boss? Yeah.
It's so funny. I want to talk about my favorite kill in Scream.
Oh my goodness. What is your favorite kill in Scream?
My favorite kill in this movie is Tatum's death.
Really not Drew Barrymore's death?
Did you hear the fun fact about her death scene?
Which one?
That she was actually falling out of the doggy door, so they had to nail her
Oh,
to
yes,
the
yes.
garage door. So she wasn't even actually stuck.
She was just too little.
They
and
just
kept
nailed her in.
falling out. Yeah.
So it was beautiful. So they zoom in on the doggy door way before. They like pan, and that's what Scream does. They show you what's gonna happen before it happens. It's my favorite kill. I don't know. I've loved it since that was the one scene. Like, I did not like this movie the first time I watched it, but I was like, I love when Rose McGowan dies.
That was really creative. I mean, have we seen anything like that since?
No.
Somebody getting smashed in the garage door like
Well,
that.
so I feel like since, because of Terrifier and things, we've seen much more. But I think the first, like, crazy off the wall kill ever in cinema that's just like, oh my God, I could never even have considered or thought of that being a death was Scream 1.
Yeah, because when you watch A Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, those are like in the dream world and they're like super crazy what he does.
Yeah.
But this is
Yeah.
like bringing us to real life and you're seeing somebody smashed in a garage door.
Yeah, it's not a fantasy crazy world. It's real life. Like, it's a crazy. It's the best kill in the whole series.
I think when Sydney ends up like finding her hanging there is, I don't know, a great addition.
So they show the front of that house surrounded by bushes 100 times. There is nowhere in existence of that house that garage could exist in unless you had to drive over like 19 bushes to get inside of that garage. Like, that garage can't exist in that house. She walks out of the kitchen into the garage and gets killed, and then Sydney jumps out a window and is like, oh, fuck me, goddamn Rose McGowan was killed right there. But, like, straight up, that garage can't exist in the layout of that house that is shown in the movie.
No, it can't.
It just straight up can't.
But we don't know that yet. We have just now, in the last 20 minutes of the movie, gotten to the horror movie rules, which are pretty solid rules.
We have the horror movie rules?
You can never have sex.
Oh.
You can never drink or do drugs. And you can never say...
I'll
Be
be
right
back.
back. But also, everyone that lives does and says literally all of those things.
I know, it's a breaking of the horror movie rules, which I think they fucking talk about in every sequel.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no,
Especially
they
in the new ones.
absolutely do.
They're talking about the rules when Sydney loses her V card.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Ghostface stabs Billy and chases Sydney to the attic. And I'm like, why doesn't she just Texas chainsaw that shit and jump out it?
Well, they do.
But she does. And then she finds Tatum and the news truck. And then there's kill number 5. We're almost at the end.
Are we?
Yeah, they killed Kenny. Gail got car accidented into the bushes and they thought she was dead. And Jamie Kennedy and Stu are at the front of the house being like, he's the killer. No, he's the killer. No, he's the killer. And Sydney's like, fuck both of you. Literally, that's what she said. Fuck you both. And then Billy tumbles down the stairs and she's trying to nurse him to health. And they're all talking to him and they're like, Stu's gone completely mad. And he says, we all go a little mad sometimes. Which is a line from what?
Psycho.
He says that. I thought it was a bit wild that he said he was covered in red corn syrup because of Carrie.
like in Carrie.
Yeah,
That's
that
what they
wasn't
used for the
yet.
pig's blood.
But like, I feel like Wes Craven should have known that the more popular real reality of that was Evil Dead. Was like literally Evil Dead came up with corn syrup with red dye.
I think Carrie came
So
out
he was
before then.
Well, he
potent-
did, but
I don't
like,
think he wanted to give too much credit to Sam Raimi because they kind of had a friendly diss going between
Oh,
each
Oh,
other.
this is what you wanted to talk about.
Oh,
So they already did Jamie Kennedy when they were picking the movies. Do you guys want to watch The Evil Dead or Halloween? And then Halloween 1, which was his little silent diss to Sam Raimi.
Oh,
So they didn't want to give him credit for anything good.
why are you not gonna credit Sam Raimi?
It went back and forth in several movies, but yeah, I didn't write them all down. There's like something in Jaws and all the different movies.
Wes Craven and Sam Raimi had a beef.
It was more of a friendly beef. They didn't really like hate each other, but they were just playing this game against each other in their movies. I think in The Evil Dead there's the Freddy's glove is in one of the scenes,
Yeah.
and something in The Hills Have Eyes, something in Jaws. Like they went back and forth in quite a few.
Oh, yeah. Have to breathe for a second.
yeah. No, that was.
Final Girl 91 telling us that. Like, I gotta think about it for a second. Yeah.
So the whole final scene is crazy.
Are we already at the final?
Yes. Billy says we all go a little mad sometimes, and he shoots Randy
Yeah.
after they try to kill Sydney's dad. And there is like so much back and forth that I could not keep track. There's the gun that Stu loses. There is the safety on.
There is also Billy quoting movies, and then also Scream being the most quotable movie ever made.
Yes.
With the
Okay.
fucking like it's wild.
The worst thing though about the ending is their motive. I mean, they do the whole thing like nobody needs a motive, but then he's
No.
like, "I'm doing this because your mom was a whore." Like, I don't get that one.
Your mom was a slut, so I'm going to.
She's no Sharon Stone, but yeah.
No, so part of it was he was like, he's a mama's boy, and her mom slept with his dad and made his mom leave. And then Stu's just like peer pressure. What?
Yeah, I know.
He is just
Well,
like, I'm obsessed with Billy, so I went along.
He's real sensitive, Dad.
yeah, very, very much so.
Stu,
I could see some peer pressure, but the elaborate plan that they had. I mean,
your
Billy
mom
had
was
to
a
be very
whore,
convincing.
so I killed her. And now I'm killing everyone because your mom was a whore. It doesn't
Right.
track. It doesn't.
So I think it does track on the level of no one expected this movie to ever matter.
And it matters.
It matters a whole
It
fucking lot,
matters.
and it's a fucking masterpiece.
It
and I
is.
think goddamn Wes Craven was just trying to do a parody movie of his own movies, and didn't even expect or plan to make a movie that no one would ever forget.
It was not the first parody movie. It was the first parody movie that didn't use humor.
Yeah.
It was the first satire movie that did not just use over-the-top humor to get its point across. And that's why this movie is important.
Yeah.
It's not a funny... This movie is listed as a horror comedy.
It's not.
It's not... It is
comedy,
satire, but it
But,
is
like,
not...
I'm so bad with that.
Oh.
I'm so bad with horror comedies and like finding deep ass meanings and being like, oh my god, this movie just changed my life, and then finding, which is like American Werewolf in London and Cemetery Man, and then being like watching them 100 times and then being like, oh, these are comedies? No, the fuck they're not.
Well, that goes to horror being a statement on what's going on in the world. all horrors are social commentaries on what's going on in the world at the time that they're made.
Thank you, George Romero.
I'm just saying. That's just
And this movie was like mentioned as art imitating life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
think one of the the opening scene was actually inspired from a murder that had happened in the area or somewhere in California at least.
so. Scream was inspired by the Gainesville Ripper, who killed 5 University of Florida students in 1990.
So I had some of that right.
Yes. No, you had all of that.
No,
Yeah.
you were like dead on.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on Scream? Anything that we did not cover? Because I know we ramble a lot, and I'm so sorry, Rachel.
I have no more thoughts in my head at this point. Scream is just a great movie.
I'm so
That's all that matters.
sorry.
We're good
No, you
at
guys are
doing that to
good.
people.
I'm so sorry.
It was a fun time. I had fun. And you can't go wrong talking about Scream.
Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting us. And I hope
Of
you will.
course.
I hope you will join us again.
Yeah.
I hope to be on again. This was fun.
I love you, motherfuckers, and fuck you.